Hey, Esther, we're going live any second now. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
To all the postpartum moms.
That is awesome. Postpartum moms, here we go. Hey guys, I want to welcome to the show Eszter Kálmán. She is a licensed clinical social worker based in San Diego, California. Esther is a psychotherapist specializing in perinatal and perinatal mental health. She has made it her mission to help new mothers struggling with emotional and mental health during and after pregnancy. With her own personal experience with postpartum depression, Esther has been a volunteer for postpartum mental health organizations and creates educational materials online for postpartum moms. Today, we'll learn from Esther about postpartum depression and how she helps new mothers recover emotionally and mentally. Esther, I'm glad to have you online. I need a PhD to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. So let's get some terms out of the way early, the hard part, and that is we want to talk about perinatal and we want to talk about postpartum. So what is perinatal? Because I had not heard that term before I started talking to you. What is that, first of all?
Perinatal is basically the period that's during and after pregnancy. It's an umbrella term for
Okay.
during and after pregnancy. Postpartum is after pregnancy.
Okay.
That's that period.
All right. Excellent. So we're going to talk about this whole pregnancy experience is what we're going to be talking about today, and specifically the depression that can happen because of being pregnant.
Yeah, so I mean, depression can happen for many different reasons, but what we know that postpartum depression is the number one complication of childbirth. So many moms, parents experience postpartum depression. We know from research that every one in every five, one in every seven women have to go through that.
So, how long is the period that happens after pregnancy that we define as postpartum?
So we say that the postpartum period is usually after delivery up to 1 year. So until the baby turns about a year old. But again, postpartum depression can start anytime in that period, but sometimes even after. So there's a mom who really starts experiencing those symptoms of depression even the second or third year after the baby is born. And
Wow.
also, moms who are feeling depressed or struggling with their mental health during pregnancy, they are at a higher risk for developing depression, anxiety after delivery.
Is there some like way that you can tell yourself or others can tell from being around you that you're going to have postpartum depression?
Well, it can look, it's different for every person, right? But obviously, we have some kind of ways to see and know if our partner, our friend is going through a hard time. Well, what we know that when moms are struggling, then usually they feel very down, they cry a lot, they don't feel that they are bonding with their babies, they feel more disconnected. They have changes in their appetite, trouble sleeping. And of course, when we're talking about newborns, sleeping is always an issue, even if
Right.
the mom is perfectly fine. But here we have to think of more like that when the baby's asleep, mom is unable to sleep as well. So maybe checking on the baby all the time, checking if the baby's still breathing, still alive. Racing thoughts might keep the mom up at night as well. So worrying about the baby, what's going to happen to the baby, feelings of guilt, shame, inadequacy about their own self.
So, what is it that you can do for the moms to help them? Like, what? How do you stop the racing brain, the non-sleep, and all that? How do you do
Mhm.
that?
Well, what we always say, the number one thing that every mom can do is ask for help. Unfortunately, we live in a world and in a society where we make moms believe that they should be able to do it all alone, all by themselves, taking care of the baby, taking care of themselves, going to work. But the truth is that no, they don't have to, and they should not be able. They shouldn't be doing it alone. So asking for help, arranging people to maybe check on you, bringing you cooked meal or ordering you food. If you have a partner, just setting up some schedule at night, like who's going to be up with the baby at night, feeding schedule, having a trusted friend to talk to during times when you feel down. Sure that really asking for help, and if it's not friends or family members, it's okay to reach out to professional help as well. So therapists, if a mom is really feeling that she's struggling and she just can't handle those emotional and mental health challenges alone, there are also support groups, mom support groups that could be very helpful.
You know, I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to all the things that you're talking about. Like, I've never had kids, and I've been around people that have kids. That's it. And I think there's a lot of societal pressure on moms to do the rearing, and I think it's just been recently that you've brought in the other parent, the partners, to help more. It's like, how do you prepare the family for the baby, I guess?
Well, you just really have to educate yourself. We have to educate about perinatal mental health, not only the mom, but also the partners, the family members, so they know what to look for, right? Because sometimes if you don't know what that feels like, what that looks like, then you would not recognize it, right? So that's why it's so important that during pregnancy, let's say when a mom goes to those childbirth classes, it's important also to inform that mom and educate that mom on these possible mental and emotional challenges, and also screening. So professionals, doctors, OBGYNs, pediatricians that see the moms more often after giving birth, so that they would screen, because proper screening is essential in order to recognize on time when there's a problem.
Let's talk about the partner, because I think there's a lot of the partner can be a really big, helpful support system for the mother, right? So, do you work separately with the partner, or do you have them both come together and speak with you? How does that part of the whole ecosystem work?
Mhm. So when in therapy, when I have a mom client, she is my client. We can have like joint sessions at times with the partner, just to kind of check in with the partner. Sometimes moms feel safer to express how they feel in the presence of a therapist, so that way the therapist can kind of navigate and just mitigate that conversation. Um, but yeah, so in therapy, usually the one of the parents is always the client, but we can always bring in the partner so that we can facilitate that conversation. And it's very important for the mom to feel safe enough to talk about how she truly feels, because if she feels like that she cannot talk to, let's say, her partner or some trusted people, then she's going to suffer in silence, and that's just going to make her symptoms worse, and just overall she's going to feel worse.
What happens to the moms that don't get help? Because I know a lot of times therapy is not in different communities. Therapy is
Hmm.
not so well received, right? So what happens if you don't
Well, if you don't
get
get
some sort of
help.
help or relief?
Oh, you kind of froze. I'm sorry. Now you're
I'm
back.
still here. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued.
So if you don't get help, I mean, again, it depends on how severe your depression or anxiety is, but untreated postpartum depression, untreated postpartum anxiety can have long-term impact, right, on the family, on the mom. So it can turn into a major depressive disorder or anxiety disorder years after, right? Untreated depression and anxiety. It can become that. It can impact even the child, right? So we know from research that moms that are depressed, that are anxious, they do not interact the same way with their children as parents who are not depressed or anxious. So it can have cognitive impact on that child as well. Not to talk about the family as a whole or the relationship with the partner that can suffer as well if there's untreated depression or anxiety.
So just in general, tell me about some people or cases that you've had where someone has been depressed, and then what did you do to help them become better, and then what were the results that you got from that?
Usually, what moms really need when they feel very sad, very worried and anxious, that a safe space to talk about it. They don't wanna feel that there's something wrong with them, right? We want to normalize it. We wanna, as therapists, we want to create a safe space where they can freely talk about how they feel. Because when they feel heard and understood and seen, then all of a sudden they can process those feelings, process those thoughts, and they are more open to come up with different solutions, right? So we can implement different tools, find ways to help that mom get a break from the baby. And not to talk about that identity shift that every parent experiences, the before the baby and after the baby, right? You become a completely different person. And it's so common that moms struggle with this loss of identity. Who am I now? Now I'm a mom, but I miss that old life. I miss that old person. So finding ways how to integrate that old identity into this new stage of a mom's life, of a parent's life.
What happens if the partner just doesn't get it and they just think the mom's being weak or something like that? How does that
Mhm.
affect the therapy that you're going to give people?
Well, unfortunately, that happens a lot, right? That's why moms or parents often remain silent. That's why education is very important. That's why I always encourage every parent to talk to a professional, right? And hear them, not only the parent out, but hear the professional out. And again, it's hard on the partner as well. So partners can struggle with postpartum depression. We know that every 1 in every 10 dads go through that. They have to go through that as well. So education, normalizing it, making them feel that they are not alone.
I think this is a fascinating topic. Hadn't thought about the partner going through the depression also. And have you had cases where the mother doesn't, but the partner does go through the depression?
Yes, it can happen. However, the most common cases are that when the mom is depressed, then usually the partner has a 50% higher chance to experience depression and anxiety as well.
Wow, it's fascinating to me. I mean, you've got a whole family here. How is the child affected? Because I mean, they don't. I'm sorry, I was going to say they don't communicate, but they do. But
Yeah.
in how do you see it expressed in the child?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, like if there's untreated depression, anxiety, then it can really impact that child, right? So just imagine if there can be severe cases when the mom is unable to, let's say, get out of bed, right, to take care of the baby, not able to respond to the needs of that baby the way that baby would need that, right? So not being consistent, that over time, if it's really happening consistently and over a longer period of time, it
Hmm.
can really impact the what we call in therapy the attachment style of the baby. So baby is gonna look at the world that it's not necessarily a safe environment, because when I need something from my caregiver or caregivers, they are not there or not always there. So, like I said, untreated depression and anxiety can really impact over time the child's development, emotional, and mental health as well.
Have you had cases where, the parent of the mother wants to come in and say, "Let me do this. You aren't doing a good job. How can I'm going to just take over"? Does that
Hmm.
happen?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that happens a lot. That grandparents, obviously, they have had lots of experience taking care of a child, and then they want to jump in. It's very important to have an open communication. It's very important, and I always encourage all my mom clients to learn to set boundaries, because they are the parent of that baby, of that child. So it's okay to say no, because when you say no to other people, even if it's grandparents, siblings, you really say yes to yourself. And um, if the mom is well, then the baby is going to be well as well.
Does your therapy happen more often before the pregnancy or after? Um, in other words, is it part of the entire process of, becoming pregnant,
Mhm.
having the baby? Where is it best for your therapy to come in play?
Well, I would encourage everyone to go to therapy during pregnancy as well, because even the pregnancy itself can be very challenging for many parents, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, what we see that usually moms come after, right, the baby was born, because this is when they really start experiencing those symptoms of depression and anxiety. Um, but I would really encourage everybody to start therapy before giving birth.
I think that is just from talking to you. It's like, you know what? If I ever have a partner and there's a pregnancy, it's like, you know what? We're both going to therapy to start.
Good.
It just it just makes sense just from listening to you. It's like, that is the way to go. Let's not wait until after. So I want people to be able to get in touch with you, to be able to ask more questions and stuff like that. We've got your website or Facebook up there. You've got your uh, website right there. Everything is Golden Tears Therapy, which I love that branding. And
Mhm.
we've got you on YouTube at Tears Therapy. You also have TikTok, and we've had your Facebook up there. You are amazing, and I love what you do. I love this whole thing about just taking care of the mental health before and being okay. I think that's super important. What do you want to tell everybody before we go?
Well, I would just let all the parents out there know that they are not alone, and there's help out there, and with the right help, they will be well.
I think that's a perfectly valid message. Thank you so much, Esther, for being on the show. And we'll talk to you again. If I ever have a
Thank
partner
you.
or we have a baby, I'm going to give you a call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Peace, everybody.